You probably won't survive this hallway story seriously. Keep your seatbelt on, because if you've ever thought your school day was rough, wait until you hear this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and your local time in the comments. I love seeing where you're tuning in from. It's wild that someone might be watching this at 3 a.m. in Tokyo, while another is half asleep with their cereal in Chicago. The gas that sweeps through Lincoln High's main corridor is so sharp, it almost feels like a fire alarm, except this alarm is for a single human being. Ava stands in the middle of it, her pleated skirt around her ankles, her knees bare against the chill of the tile floor. Her stomach lurches as flashes click. Some genius thinks humiliation belongs on Snapchat. The kind of genius who also believes pineapples on pizza are illegal. Ava, brand new transfer, still trying to navigate lockers that clang louder than subway doors, is suddenly the unwilling star of the cruelest stage. She had thought her cream sweater and plaid skirt looked neat, maybe even quietly stylish, like something out of catalog. Instead, it's turned into the punchline of Belle's prank. Belle, the tall blonde who always walks like the hallway, is a runway, flanked by friends who giggle on command. The easy reaction would be to yank the skirt back up, face red, run to the bathroom, and never return. That's what bullies expect: chaos, panic, tears. But Ava hears her own pulse louder than their laughter, and something steadier takes over. She bends, slow as a teacher grading essays with extra spite, picks up the skirt, and holds it in her hands. No rushing, no flailing, just stillness. "Are you proud of yourself?" she asks Belle. The words hang heavier than any detention slip. The crowd, hungry for spectacle, suddenly feels like it wandered into the wrong movie theater. Belle's smirk twitches, the laughter scatters into nervous coughs. Someone shuffles their backpack. Another slams a locker shut too hard. It's as if Ava's calm is the unexpected element, like historians still argue whether the first person to eat a chili pepper was brave or just wildly unlucky. Ava steps back in her skirt, tugs the waistband snug, and stands tall. Her cheeks still burn, but her voice doesn't. Humiliating someone doesn't make you strong. It only shows how small you really are. She adjusts the hem, not looking back as she walks down the corridor. Her sneakers squeak against the linoleum, the only sound in a hall that seconds ago roared with laughter. And here's the funny thing about high school gossip: it spreads faster than conspiracy theories about Elvis still being alive. By the time Ava reaches her next class, whispers are already flying. Some call her bold, some call her weird, but every single one remembers she didn't crumble. By lunchtime, the hallways hum like beehives. Whispers ricochet between lockers, carried on the scent of reheated pizza and overly sweet vending machine hot chocolate. The video, yes, there's a videoist everywhere now. The yank, the laughter, the sharp intake of breath. But what hooks everyone isn't the prank. It's Ava's voice. Calm, steady, almost surgical in how it cut through the noise. Students replay it, pausing at the exact moment Belle's smirk falters, like amateur detectives searching for clues. Some kids mock her. Of course, high school sarcasm is a currency more stable than gold. A sophomore in gym shorts mutters, "Guess she's auditioning for Gandhi 2.0, while another posts a meme of Ava with superhero captions. But here's the twist. Mixed in with the mockery are voices of admiration. Quiet ones, tentative. "Did you see how she didn't even cry?" one girl whispers at the water fountain. "That was kind of brave." It's like watching tectonic plates shift slow, invisible to most, but powerful enough to cause quakes later. By mid-afternoon, Ava walks into the principal's office. Not because she's trembling for revenge or begging for safety. She's there with a kind of composed fury, the same energy you might use when explaining Wi-Fi to your grandparents for the 47th time. She lays out exactly what happened: the yank, the laughter, the filming, the crowd. But then she pushes deeper. She talks about public shaming, about how humiliation doesn't bruise skin but scars dignity. Her words are measured, not explosive, but they sting sharper than a slap. The principal leans forward, fingers steepled, listening the way scholars still argue whether Shakespeare wrote every line he's credited for. When Ava finishes, the room is quiet, like even the fluorescent lights are holding their breath. By the end of the day, Belle and her entourage find themselves suspended. For them, the punishment is sudden. For Ava, it feels like only the surface of something much bigger. Rules can suspend a bully, but rules alone don't rewrite the culture of a hallway. That evening, as she sits at her small kitchen table with her mom, eating reheated spaghetti, Ava feels both drained and restless. Her mom squeezes her hand, saying, "You stood your ground." But Ava shakes her head. "It's not about me. If they did this to someone else who couldn't stay calm," her voice trails off. She's already plotting not revenge, but something sharper, more lasting. The next week, English class becomes the unexpected stage. Ava raises her hand when it's her turn to present, stands in front of her peers, and tells the story herself. No edits, no sugarcoating. She describes the skirt around her ankles, the burn of shame, the choice to breathe instead of bolt. The room shifts from giggles to silence. Even the class clown who once drew mustaches on every portrait in the history book looks up, serious. "You don't control what people do to you," Ava says, "but you control what they remember about you. And I didn't want them to remember me as the girl who ran away crying. I wanted them to remember I stood my ground." Her teacher's eyes glisten. A few students glance at one another, suddenly uncomfortable with the fact they'd laughed in the hallway. That moment, Ava, choosing to own the story instead of hiding from it, becomes the seed of something much larger. From that day forward, something invisible but undeniable shifts inside Lincoln High. Ava walks the halls with the same plaid skirt, same cream sweater, but suddenly people notice her differently. A nod from the kid who never speaks, a whispered sorry from someone who laughed too loud. Even Belle, when she returns from suspension, avoids Ava's eyes not because she's scared, but because shame is heavier than any textbook. What spreads faster than gossip now is curiosity. Students begin talking about what it means to humiliate someone in public, how laughter can feel like daggers. A senior writes a rant on the school's online forum, comparing bullying to cheap entertainment that rots the audience too. Another kid points out how Roman gladiator games thrived because spectators loved humiliation, and historians still argue whether the fall of Rome began when cruelty became spectacle. Suddenly, the skirt yank isn't just a prank, it's a mirror. Ava doesn't let it stop there. By spring, she's elected to the student council, partly because people admire her, partly because no one forgets her calm defiance. She launches a campaign called Respect Isn't Boring, the name itself drawing smirks at first, but posters bloom across lockers, colorful and unignorable. She organizes assemblies where guest speakers talk about dignity, and one even mentions an odd fact. In 17th century France, people actually hired professional mockers to roast others at parties. Everyone laughs nervously, realizing their school isn't that different from an old French ballroom. Ava takes what happened to her and uses it as a spark. She knows rules suspended Belle, but culture changes only when voices join together. Her campaign invites stories from kids who'd stayed silent, whispers of bathroom bullying, cafeteria pranks, cruel nicknames. For once, those whispers find microphones. Months later, when Ava passes the exact stretch of hallway where her skirt hit the floor, she doesn't flinch. She feels something closer to pride. Not because of the humiliation, but because she'd turned that moment inside out. She'd chosen dignity over fear, and in doing so, forced others to confront what they'd laughed at. The hallway still smells faintly of disinfectant and fries from the nearby cafeteria, but for Ava, it smells like reclamation. And so the girl who began as a trembling target becomes a quiet leader. Not perfect, not invincible, just steady enough to remind everyone that power doesn't live in humiliation. It lives in the choice to rise, even when laughter wants you small. And now, as the story softens, picture the hallway empty. The lockers closed, the echoes gone. Just faint sunlight spilling through the high windows, stretching across polished tiles. In that silence, the memory of laughter is only a shadow, fading further with each passing day. Ava's footsteps are calm here now, unhurried, almost meditative. What once burned with shame now breathes with quiet strength. Every school has corners that hold stories, some heavy, some hilarious, some painful. But what Ava did was simple. She didn't let one cruel moment decide the story she'd carry. She wrote another ending. And isn't that what we all get to do in the smallest ways? To breathe, to stand steady, to refuse to let the loudest voices dictate who we are. The students who laugh that morning feel remember the silence afterward more than the prank itself. They'll remember how stillness cut sharper than panic. They'll remember how someone they thought would fold didn't. And in their own lives, maybe years later, when shame or cruelty tries to corner them, they'll recall the girl who picked up her skirt and chose dignity. So if you've carried humiliation, know this: the echo doesn't last forever. It softens, it bends, it fades. What lasts is how you face it, how you hold yourself when others try to take something from you. Ava's story isn't just hers, it belongs to anyone who ever chose steadiness when the world wanted collapse. So let your breath slow now. Let the tension ease from your shoulders. Close your eyes if you want. Picture that quiet hallway. No laughter, no cruelty, just space, sunlight, and the sound of your own steady heart.